All right, so let me say good afternoon to this live broadcast. Today is the 16th of is it 16th Saturday?
No, the 14th.
Yes, sorry, the 14th of December. Sorry for that. And we are in the offices of the Liberia Council of Churches. We've come to speak with the head of Secretariat, the current Secretary General, Mr. Christopher Wleh. We come to speak on several national issues ranging from the SCC, how it looks like since the transition from one leadership to another. I mean, we come to go to elections, how the SCC views the political landscape of Liberia, and also the recent, pronounced protest by the CPP. As a matter of fact, that protest been met with resistance from the ruling party. I mean, how can the SCC mitigate between the parties? And so those are issues we're going to be talking about. So let me say, Reverend Tu, good afternoon and welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure also being a part of this interview.
How you doing? Long time we have not spoken. I mean, since the elections that brought Reverend Reese to the LCC. I mean, we have not met. How are you doing?
By the grace of God, we are trying to be well. It is only His grace that have kept us this far, and the songwriter say His grace will lead us home.
That's great. I'm sure you used to sing, or you can still sing.
I've been singing. I was part of the choir before.
That's great. All right, so how is the Liberia Council of Churches? You have elections. The then president, Reverend Kotu Brown, gave way to the current president, Reverend Reese. How is it like?
Thank you. The Liberal Council of Churches, from its first transition, we came to power with Bishop Kotu Brown the same year that President Wleh came to power. He was elected the same month we were elected, the same November. And we had our induction in December, and they had the induction of the presidency in January. So we did what we could do with the previous leadership. Working with Dr. Brown, we were able to do a lot of transformation. We came and met the Liberal Council of Churches at a lower pace. We were able to raise it up to this level, give it more credibility, integrity, and give it a very good outlook as a representation of the church. Because the Bible also tells us that cleanliness is next to godliness. And so we try to live up to the mission of the institution, and also its motto that we have transformed into the three pillars of the council that has to do with witnessing, advocacy, and service. So yes, we have been doing fine. We have worked with the political in the political space. We have worked with government, civil society, international organizations. And so, yeah, Bishop Brown has done his part, and he has played his role. And it's because of tenure, he has to transition. But it was not for tenure. He will have to continue as the president. So it's the issue of tenure that, that sees, his opportunity to perform, because the Council of Churches, the presidency is 2 years. You're elected after every 2 years. So you have 2 terms, and the general secretary is 4 years, and you have 2 terms.
So you were able to be elected?
We have a process. So the continuation with they provided 1 year extension for the general secretary until we can go to the executive committee can make a decision of extension.
Great. You spoke of the 3 pillars of the LCC. How can you further explain that? Maybe somebody wants to know.
Okay, the 3 pillars of the LCC, when we talk about witnessing, what pillar 1 is witness. It has to do with the evangelical mission of the church. Jesus said, go ye all into the world, make disciples of all nations, baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So there's a mission of evangelism, that mission that transform, that bring about the transformation of the mind, the renewal of the mind. Setting people at the stage where they become responsible citizens, that people we have confidence in them, that when you look in the society, people looking at society will see them and will say, okay, like what Jesus said, you are the light of the world. So that's pillar one. Pillar two has to do with advocacy, which represent the voice of the voiceless. So although, yes, we bring people to Christ, yes, we preach to them, yes, we teach to them in witnessing, but the next aspect is advocacy. Do we speak on their behalf? Do we advocate for their rights? Do we advocate for the basic social services that they are entitled to? So that is advocacy. So our advocacy go at the level with government, and so you know that government is the one that supposed to look at the issue of human rights. It's the government the one that abuse human rights. It's not human that abuse human rights. So we have to do advocacy on human rights. We have to do advocacy for justice. We have to do advocacy for education, for all the basic social services. We need to do advocacy for that, so that the lives of our people will be transformed, and there will be peace in the country. We'll have a good tenet of democracy and reconciliation will pursue. So that is the advocacy component. Then the next component is the service component. So the service, when the church is in the society, the church has to give a service to the people. And she gave a service to the people in three ways. And the three ways, Jesus asked Peter a question, do you love me? And the three ways are exemplified in that question. Peter, do you love me? He said, Lord, you know I love you. He said, feed my sheep. Do you love me? You know I love you. He said, take care of my sheep. You love me? You know I love you. He said, feed my sheep. So the three components of the service has to do with education, health, and food security. So the church must not only advocate, should not only witness to the people, but the church should educate the people. So that's the reason why the church have educational institutions. That's the reason why the church provide clinical services, health services to the people. And that's the reason why also the church provide food security. Having farm, animal husbandries and other things. So that's the three pillars, and we call it the WAS, which is the WAS approach.
Great. So I'm sure you have a huge responsibility as a church. That's great. So let's transition a little bit, maybe to the political, environment of Liberia. I mean, we will be going to elections. A few months from now in 2023. And the church stands in the middle. The church stands as a voice, as a moral voice. The church stands, as an institution, that erects checkpoints when political actors or even the citizenry going the other way around. So from the LCC point of view, how do you view the political landscape of Liberia as we approach 2023, as the CDC government comes to an end?
Thank you very much. The political landscape, as we do the civil space, in Liberia before, the civil space was closing. And then President Salif came into power, and they decided to open the space. And the space started to open gradually. And then, again, as going towards the end of President Salif administration, then the space started to close again. And you see civil society started to make the issue. So even the former president, Barack Obama of the United States of America, even took up that campaign of opening the civil space, that people will be able to vent out the grievances. People will be able to talk about their rights. People will be able to demonstrate their feelings and say to the government, this is what we expect you to do, or this is what you say you're going to do, and we expect you to do this, and you're not living up to it, and we count on you to be able to, to respond. Now, the civil space, as we look at it now, the civil space is challenged. It's challenged in a way that the relationship with the state, the church, the civil society has been challenged, and I think it needs some improvement. And it is unfortunate that people at the level of government feel that the church is an enemy of the state or is an opponent of the state, and that is very unfortunate. And those people who are part of the governance structure of our country, majority of them come from the church. So how can you say that the church is against the state when you are a member of that church? And I say to you that majority of those persons that are even in the leadership position in our country today, from the president to the three branches of government, the heads of the three branches of government, are members of the Liberia Council of Churches.
Wow.
All the leaders, the president is United Methodist, the vice president is Restoration Baptist, they are member. The speaker is a Catholic.
If the deputy speaker is a Catholic,
The
pro tempore is a
The pro
Catholic.
tempore is a Catholic. So, and the Chief Justice was a Catholic before. Now, this new Chief Justice, I need to maybe research and find out which denomination she comes from. But I tell you that how the government, is set up, and those people, the Catholic is a member of the Council of Churches. The United Methodist is a member of the Council of Churches. The Restoration Baptist Church is a member of the council. So how come these persons who are in the leadership position will see the council as an opponent? Because your leaders are right there. So that thing is an advantage point for you to see yourself in the leadership of the church and take advantage of that and see how you work along with the church in partnership to move our country forward. So it's a great opportunity for the government. But on the other side, we see that a lot of political selfishness and gains have been played, which is not good for our moving tomorrow. So people do not bring the Christian attitude within the political leadership, the offices that we hold. We don't take with us our Christian attitude, what is expected of us, into our offices. And so based on that, the response is most often at the challenging level. So people question in the society, they question their own brothers and sisters with regard to their performance. And so the issue, a lot of people are suffering. Yes, people will suffer, but what are we doing about the suffering of our people? We need to make some changes. You were suffering yesterday. There were crowds that you were suffering. You come and you are not suffering again, but there are other people that are suffering. So now, and you see, before, it was even before Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, there were a lot of protests all around. There were some times where there was some regime that did not tolerate protests, and the manhandled people, and the Council of Churches spoke against that. It came to the time President Sirleaf came, at least she tried to encourage it. Some people also were victimized by protests from President Sirleaf leadership, of which also the council found out. And you'll come to one of the grades that will give a good grade point to the Wleh government, and the church encouraged them that whenever the people want to vent out, their grievances, let them do it in the most civil way, because people will talk. People have to talk, and one of the best way to be able to deal with the hurts of people, to move them from the level of hurt and anger, is for them to have an expression of what is in their heart. So you help them at that level. So if I express my feelings to you in terms of what you have done to me, at least it helped me to make me free from the other end. But if I'm not tolerated to do that, a lot of things come into my mind what to do to you, saying I'm not able to say it to you. So I think when people come up with protests, it just has to be managed. It has to be, and those who are carrying the protest must know also that in the demonstration of your protest or what you want to say, where your rights end, another person's rights, begins, and where your rights begins, another person's rights stand. So we have to be able to respect the civil space, respect the governance process. We can disagree, but we can disagree being peaceful. Because one way or the other, when we ascend to power, one way or the other, there will be no political leader that will be Jesus Christ who will not have fault. They will always have faults. And because of the people you have around you, most of the time in the governance structure, you will always have fault. You cannot operate a country as a single individual. So there are a lot of people that are around you will make you to have fault. A lot of people will give you misinformation. It will make you to make mistakes. So we see those things happening from government to government, government to government. So with the demonstration,
yeah. So
with the new demonstration that is coming up,
yeah.
That's what you want to.
Yeah, that's the way I want to come.
Yeah. So the new demonstration that has been pronounced by the CPP, say we tired suffering. A lot of people have been tired suffering a long time. June 7th, there was another campaign say, well, bring our money back. And then there was another one that came out later on and say, step down. And we have to even say to them that you have to change that. Because no president, no one is stepping down. If you want to, we engage them at that time. The Costa group, who told them, no one is stepping down. We have to respect our political, structure that we put into place. And if you differ with the president because of how they are performing, you wait and go to the ballot box. You have to convince other people that you are better than they, so that you can be able to, gather the mantle and change things. But our people become frustrated nowadays that they have tried, and they are trying, and they are not seeing anything happening. So the frustration is coming from, from one end to another. So a lot of people who were suffering yesterday, some of them today are benefiting. And some of them who were benefiting yesterday, some of them have gone to the suffering level. And some people who have been suffering are still suffering. And so those who were suffering before and are still suffering, they suffered before Ellis Johnson Sirleaf, they suffered during Ellis Johnson Sirleaf, even now they're suffering. So they're tired of suffering. There are people also who today also are championing the cause of retired suffering, but they are not really suffering. They have everything to the comfort, to their needs. But they are saying politically, they are talking about those who are suffering. So it's an issue of name. It's an issue of naming. So yes, people are suffering in Liberia.
So what can you say to that? I want to know the LCC position.
So we even met with the Tim Cummings yesterday.
Okay.
They called on us yesterday, and they paid a courtesy call on the council to explain to us why they wanted to have this rally. According to them, that it was not a protest; it was a rally, and according to the leader of the rally, Ambassador Louis Brown, the whole idea was to be able to gather views of the Liberian people and collect those views and then document those views and present it to the national legislature of the views and the sentiments of the people. Things are hard. They've gone to counties to see how people are living, and those things have been there before. And before even early time, I traveled and I went going to Sino County where I see people in use leaf as wearings and other things like those. People been suffering and people continue to suffer. So now we met with them and they told us and it's just like 2 to 3 more days, to the rally. So you are just saying, coming to us as a council of churches. Like when we heard about the June 7th, we called them. They did not even come to us, but we saw that there was this tension building up, and even with this, with tire suffering, we start calling them. 2 weeks ago, I was calling them so that we can have a conversation on this, issue before moving even further. But then they said they were interrupted by, some wrong perception about the whole process, and so eventually they had to be able to respond to those wrong perception, and that took up most of the time before getting to us. However, the meeting was held yesterday, and the council make it plain to them that we acknowledge Liberian people are suffering, but at the time the proposal was made to them in terms of how can we channel this rally, we channel this demonstration or protest, whatever it will be, in different manner, but they have already planned it. Okay. They have already reached to where they are, and like they were coming to inform us. But our own, position to them was that we are not friends of you. We are not enemies of you. We expect partnership. And we said the same thing to them, that we have said this to the government, that we are not your enemies. We are not your friends. We expect to be partners. So in the partnership, we work together. What is good for our country, we all promote it. What is not good for our country, we discuss it and see how we make that which is bad, we turn it to good. So that's the kind of partnership we want to enter into. So it becomes church and state relationship. So we can say to you, yes, you are opposition. Tomorrow, you may be in position. So when you are in position tomorrow, what you expect for the opposition to respond to you, because you may have some challenges. You may not come to power with everything. You will have some challenges. Do you expect also that your government will be flavored, will be attacked all through with different kinds of protests? Can we approach it at many different fronts? Knowing very well, yes, people are aggrieved. Knowing very well, people are hurt. Seeing very well that the psyche, the psyche of our children has been damaged and is going through even damaging processes with drugs. That you may have good intentions for the rally, but you don't know the mindset of people. How is that, how that going to be turned around? You don't know it. So as the church, we gave some advisement in terms of, is it possible for you to look at different options in terms of how you approach the rally into different segments? Because you said the younger boys, the market women, the pimping drivers, the motorcyclists, the people, tailored, professional, non-professional people are crying. So now you have gone far off now, but if you are going to come to us earlier to have a discussion with us, we're going to say to you, just as we also have a plan of having different meetings with the different stakeholders, how can we, with this kind of problem we have, how can we be able to address it? And then we take it to the national legislature, also know that you have a plan, and we take it holistically. And this is what most of the time we gain the kind of the result that we expect when we work together as a team. Because the government, all what is done by the opposition and even the different other stake actors is to be able to change things in the country to make it better, so that even if your government come to power, you will not have to struggle to start over. But if you spoil that, if you damage that wish, the gains that have been made, when you come to power, you will be complaining that you have to start over. And then the others who will be in the opposition will be saying to you also, we tired suffering. So it will become, a round engagement something. But what we can say is that the council, we intend to have some observers to at least go to monitor to see what is happening
at the protest site.
Not at to move around and see what is happening,
okay.
And to showcase to our Liberian people that and to even they give more courage to the security that the church, we are here with you because security will be there. Also to provide security, the Minister of Justice has said to the protester to provide security. We will be out there to showcase, also to make sure that we will send some observers in the jacks. They will be uniform, so with us and
with LCC,
with the LCC jacket and
like
everything, so people will see them and know that they are LCC people, and it will not just be in a group. They will be wherever there is something that they want to spark up. We'll see how we can be able. We'll be working with the police, moving along at the level of the police, not doing police work, but if there's anything that I want to spark up, even with those who are carrying out the show, trying to make sure that it becomes, it goes in a peaceful way. Our role is to make sure we want these things to be peaceful. We don't want the incitement. We don't want people to come from the other end. How can we also work with the ruling party to make sure that, because we want to see how...
Sorry, recently the current Secretary General of the ruling party, Jefferson Koji, who was youth chair before, very influential in the party, also had a press conference and seriously warned the organizers of this assembly, as they call it. So that's another thing I'm looking at. The voice of people on the radio has a way of inflaming situation. Since you met with the protesters, they are resolute, they are resolved to go in a peaceful manner. You as the church have also agreed to work with them to make sure it is peaceful. What's about the government side? What's about...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we even planning a meeting. We called the justice minister to arrange a meeting. We want to see how we can arrange a meeting from now to Friday. But there's a plan also how we can be able to meet the chairman of the ruling party, and so that we have this balanced conversation, and so that they know that we are not there for to say we are supporting the other group or supporting the other group, but we have to give 100% support
to the process.
Now, not only to the process, but the governance.
Okay.
We must be able to respect government, respect the governance process, and make sure that the process, the governance process is peaceful in our country. People are suffering. They go to bed hungry, but it's better to go to bed hungry in peace than to go to bed hungry in violence. So, whoever that is in opposition, remember, you will have the opportunity. If the Liberian people select you or elect you tomorrow, you also will want this country to be peaceful. And so the same thing we want to do, will do for others. We have to do unto others as you have to do unto you. So we're going to also meet with the government. We're trying to arrange that meeting so that we can show to them that the Council of Churches, we are concerned. We are not sitting back. We are concerned about what is is obtaining. We have been there, with government. We have been in partnership with the Ministry of Justice. He knows that we've been working with him many times with a lot of the situations. The last protest, June 7, we were there in our jacket, and we walk around. As the General Secretary also, I was there, and I'll walk all around, try to observe and see what is happening, so that tomorrow we can be able to give a good report, and that helps to be able to, to neutralize the tension. And we also, before the rally, we'll be able to come up at least with a statement so people can know. We'll give a fresh statement. The president of the council will speak, other people will speak, so they know that if you want to go out, and the organizers are saying, if you think you're not suffering and you don't want to go out, you're not forced to go out. If you want to stay home, stay home. If you think that you are suffering and you want to go out and exemplify that I'm suffering posture, not in an angry manner, but in a manner to show, yes, I'm suffering, hear me, I'm suffering, and show that I'm suffering. So I want my government to give me some attention, and you want to go and show yourself, go and show yourself in peace, and not be violent, be peaceful. Go and show yourself. If you have a word to say, and people are asking people to say the word, say your word in peace. We are not going to encourage any disturbance of the peace as a council. We're going to stand for the peace. We respect this government. We respect the government that we elect. And if the Liberian people are not pleased with the government, we pray that they will use the political process to be able to remove the government. And so that's that's our
Your
position.
position for now. Okay, thank you. Even though the president will speak. Okay, let me you take me back to your previous answer when I asked you how the church views the political landscape. You said even those who are in politics, those who are in government, are members of the churches or are member of the Liberia, how they call it, council of churches. The church should teach moral consciousness. So, one who may be viewing this live broadcast will be wondering if the church teaches moral consciousness and people who are in government are all Christians and member of churches and member of the council of churches, why then we still have problem in our governance processes when we should teach moral consciousness, and those moral consciousness and moral attributes should be transitioned along with us in governance in the places we serve in public offices?
Thank you for a good question. And I have one example to give to you. Jesus had 12 disciples. And of the 12 disciples, let's take the 12 disciples as the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. And the 12 disciples he had with him. There were people who believed in him, that will follow him because they have different perception. There were people who believe in him, and there were people who don't really believe in him. They were somehow doubtful, but they were following. So, Jesus said, "He who are ears to hear, let him hear." Not hear, but what let he hear what the Spirit has to say. The church, yes, is the moral conscience of society. Who is the church? Then Paul comes back again and says, who is the church? He says the church is the temple. He said, you are the church, and we are the temple of the of God. And the Holy Spirit dwells in us. And if we look at the church from the physical perspective also, and not from the spiritual perspective, then that's where we always have the battle. Because the church is not only the structure, but the church is the being. So that church, that being moves also into the physical structure. So the church is both physical and spiritual. So you may not be perfect, but when you have those moral teachings, what does the moral teaching teach you? The moral teaching starts from where? From the family. It starts from the family, it goes into the community, it goes to the church. So the church tries to also say to you, okay, this is the moral guidance. You have to do X, Y, Z. Thou shalt not, thou shalt not, thou shalt not. And so if your mother taught you in the home, or your father taught you in the home, to not steal, if you were stealing, food in the house and taking it out. If you were stealing money from your parents in the house, if you are used to doing things, corrupting the home, taking away things from the home that does not belong to you, if you are there taking your parents' deed to go and to pawn it for money, if you are taking your parents' clothes to go and sell it, your attitude, when you exhibited in the home, you came to the church and the church told you about those moral values, and you never repented. If you get into government, eventually you will exemplify those attitudes. So there's a charity start at home and ends abroad. So yes, we are members of the church, but what moral teachings have we learned? So yes, we blame. Like someone said to me, I would not just call his name, but he said to me after the July 26th, they were doing the program, and they came to me and said, he said, was there, because one of the ministers said the problem of Liberia is the church. So when the president, one of the ministers went on the pulpit, it was, we were having the independence celebration.
Government minister.
He said, it was two. They said to me, he said, and we told you, he said, but the person who spoke was a minister of the church, and he said, the problem of Liberia is the church. If the church, can be able to settle elsewhere, the country will change. So after the program, he said, ain't see what are you? The church are gonna get a problem. So then I push it back to him. I said, who is the church? I said, you're not part of the church. So I said, if you say the church has a problem, then you got a problem. So you got a problem. Don't put the church to be the bishop or to be the pastor.
Or the buildings.
Or the building. Take the church as you as an individual. Now you are public work minister.
What are you doing?
You are commerce minister. You are there for trade. What are you doing to help the Liberian people? You are legislature. What are you doing to help the Liberian people? Are you only there to receive in the brown envelope to pass a law or whatever?
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote, brown envelope. To pass a law when you know it's a responsibility. No one's supposed to give you a dime to pass a law.
Even doing that is against the moral consciousness.
Moral consciousness. But because if there was a good bill that was brought to you, your work is to be able to pass it without anybody giving you a dime, because it's your work. So when you pass anything that you are giving something for, that means that particular thing is not good.
International standards says signature fee. It's by international standards. Maybe that's the reason.
No, what I'm saying it's a responsibility. It's a responsibility. So, for example, I was listening to even the following on the issue of the subsidy, the rest subsidy. So, government, the legislature approved the 11 million for the subsidy of the rice. So, you approve the money. So, when you approve the money, so how do you approve it? Do you just approve it in a blanket way, or do you approve it seeing the documentation in terms of how it's going to be used? Now you come back at legislature to ask the executive question: how did you use the money? When you appropriating fund, you're supposed to ask the question: the 11 million we are putting in the budget, who are going to be the recipient? Those are questions you're supposed to ask before you pass it. Before you appropriate it, who are the beneficiary? How much you're going to get K&K or whatever group and XYZ that's importing food is supposed to be outlined so that tomorrow, if it is not done, then you can be able to question. But it's unfortunate that most of the things happen. But as I said, all these persons are members of the church. And they are members of the church, Episcopal Church, they are members of the Baptist Church, member of all the different churches. They all are members of different churches. And it is unfortunate, I tell you, for example, we just, after got through talking with Louis Brown, Pastor Louis Brown, and then I asked him, I said, what church did you go to? He said, the Episcopal Church. I said, you see that? So, you from the Episcopal Church, did you go to your priest? of your parish or your church and say, "Priest, this is something I've come into, my being, and say, well, the Liberian people are suffering, although I'm not suffering, but the Liberian people are suffering, and this is what I want to do." Or go to your bishop. But most of the time, you people, your pastor, you go and do what you want to do. Then the reflection come back, then you say the church. Then everybody is blaming the church. The people from the ruling party. The only thing they want the church to do is the church to clap hands for them. Is to praise them.
So let me jump in with the question for you answer everything. This is the final question. You answer one aspect of the question. I wanted to ask you, you look like, a tree that is in the middle of the river. Everybody wants to hang you for survivability.
Certainly.
And if I grab you and you bend with me, I say you want me to live in the water. What I'm trying to say is that the church is being viewed like that. Those on the other side, when you look at the political landscape, the opposition feel that the day you come high on them that this is not good, you've been siding with the government. If you come on the video, you say it is the right of the opposition to have protest. Government says you're siding with the opposition. Even some of your members in the church, they accuse you of being bribed by government. They accuse you of being bribed that you're not even looking after them. When you're quoting your TDP as a question, somebody say you're not looking after them. So this is the final question. You try answering the political aspect of it. You can start from there and go on. But then we'll come to the church that you member of, that you are heading. They even accuse you of corruption. They accuse you of being bought by government. What do you have to say to those concerns?
And that's a very interesting question. The government refer to the church in most instances our opponent as enemy to the state. And then the opposition accuses the church as a surrogate
to government.
So the church, like you say, the church found herself in the middle. Now, I give for example, I was just sharing with Bishop Samuel Choir, the Bishop of the United Methodist Church. And I said to him as a bishop, I feel for you. I said, I know what you're going through. The ruling party, I think you got a ruling party in your church. You got most of the opposition in your church. President George Wleh is the United Methodist Church, Georgia Party. You have Alexander Cummings, which is the opposition. It's from the United Methodist Church. You have a lot of these other people opposition who are part of the United Methodist Church. So you got most of them that coming from the United Methodist Church that everybody want to be president. Even the former president was a United Methodist.
President Salif.
President Salif. And there was a time that even the Baptist people, a lot of the Baptist people also became president, and they were in leadership, and just like that. So I see with you. So, like the question you're raising, where do we find ourselves? We will find ourselves, like Wleh was saying, in the middle, and that's why we got to know how we hug the tree.
Do you feel hurt sometimes when you've been attacked?
Oh,
either from the opposition,
it's
from
not
your
an issue of being hurt.
You regret.
For example, we regret it. For example, a government official will look at a church leader and insult that leader. It's regrettable. That the person don't have to be your bishop, but you look at another bishop or head of a church institution and you insult that person.
You were one time called a satanic.
Yeah. Representative Solomon George, I said that, he calls the council of churches, various bishops, not one, and your bishop will be even part of that, and you refer to the group that all the various bishops are part of, he call them satanic. So what does that imply? So that means all the people in that group, they are part of Satan Church? Is it because of emotion? Is it because somebody from the church, a leader from the church tells you that you are in the wrong? Even if they told you they were in the wrong, is that how you will, approach them? It is unfortunate sometimes these things happen. It's regrettable. And that's where it takes us to a place where, sometimes you feel very sometimes discouraged, about our political landscape, how it is portrayed. Because those people, before they want to get in power, oh man, they are there all in the church for prayer, lying down, bending down, And if you asking whether pastor can see vision for them or to make prophecy for them, and then they come to power, and then they become the opposite. If you know that God has brought you from nowhere and brought you somewhere, rely on God and trust God, and God will keep you and protect you. So it's unfortunate at times that we have this situation, where we have the fight between both the government and the opposition, but we continue to struggle with that.
To be the church.
To be the church. Because I can say to anybody, I even said it before on the radio, no one should feel.
You sometimes pray for them. Officials of government. Even though you know they are corrupt. You know some of them made themselves a demigod. You still pray for them. Why? Why you do that?
I even said to someone the other day, I said, even those that they place sanction on, they need prayers. We need to pray for them. And the U.S. ambassador stated that the sanction is for correction. It's just like what the Bible. The word that comes from the Bible is for correction.
And reproof.
Reproof. It's not, it's there to be able to, when you rebuke the person, it's there for correction. So God is just trying to, if God is angry with us, He will strike us dead every minute. But His words are there to correct us so that we change our attitude. So they need prayers. So they need prayers so that their lives can be transformed. So maybe they were doing some things that were not, were not good yesterday, but their lives today can be better. I said to somebody, this is what I wanted to say before I conclude, that there is nowhere in the Constitution that says someone who is a bishop or pastor should not run to be president. There is no way. Because just as you are a Christian, the bishop is a Christian. The pastor is a Christian. So no one can stop anybody from participating. That what even our Constitution has no criteria in terms of educational criteria. You don't say you must be 35 years old and be a Liberian. No. So whether you went to school, you go to school, and the Liberian post say they want you, that's it. It did not say you should be a high school graduate or you should be a college graduate. No. So it does not give any criteria. So if I was a bishop and I wanted to aspire for the presidency and I did not win, and now I stay in my bishop position, no one should call that man and say, oh, that man, that. No, don't shift. Because that position is not for one person. Anybody can get there anytime. So when you get there, people will respect you as a legislature, as a president, as a vice president. Whenever you get there, that respect should be given to you. And I will say to every church leader.
So finally, as a conclusion, just answer the one in your conclusion statement.
Yeah.
I heard of the elections. There are concerns about security. The police director was at the legislature recently. He said, since he asked the legislature to appropriate money to train 1,500 additional men to the police, they have not done that, and they are they don't have the manpower ahead of the elections. You just conclude on that. This is something that caught the attention.
That's one part of our advocacy. We have engaged the government also to increase the budget on security. It's very important. We talk about education, we talk about health, we talk about agriculture, we talk about security. They are very important. Now, yes, we trust God. We put all our trust in God. God is the one that provides the overall security for us. But for the state security, we need presence of the security everywhere. Now, you can see, you can hear. You can hear the voices, the hate speeches that's coming up. You can sense the tension, the political tension, you can perceive, the cloud of violence. You can perceive violence. But now, if we as a church, that's what we are concerned about, and we're trying to put into place a transitional justice process, working with the civil society. And we're trying to also organize what we call a national stakeholder forum that will be able to look at, those critical issues with regard to security. Engage in the national legislature to ensure that it's not an issue about patriotism, it's not an issue, of anybody, it's an issue of the state. There are a lot of things that that is undone, and we need to be able to give some attention to it. The country has so much needs, but at times when you go into certain period, you got to give some priority. We know Liberia has a lot of priorities now, but you cannot solve all the problems right now. It is impossible, and we need to set priorities. One of our priorities for next year is security. We need security, and there's a need for appropriate budgetary allocation. Appropriate, I use the word appropriate budgetary allocation for the security sector to help us in this. We can do all our talking, we can do all our praying, but also, that connects. And God gave us the mind. God gave us the mind that as we speak for security, the aspect of the security, the human security also has to be taken care of. As we speak on God's security, we also have to be able to provide the human security.
Thank you. Any final statement?
My final statement to the Liberian people, before I go to the Liberian people, is the organizer of the rally, Retire Suffering. As you have stated in terms of your plan on carrying on the rally peaceful, we urge you to ensure that your structure that you put into place remains a structure of peace, a structure that of respectability. People will have different perception. Right now, people have a lot of perception and a lot of fear in the minds of people. People are afraid. Listening even from the statement made by the Army Chief of Staff, people are afraid. So, please, do everything you can to make sure that that day is peaceful. To the government, we want to say to the government, as you have shown maturity in the government of providing that space for the organizer to use for the day. It is our prayer that, and you stated that you're giving security, our prayer that the security that will be provided will be the security that will provide peaceful, will provide security that will be peaceful, security that will order, the process, that we will put, people into the right perspective, the right direction. You will order the traffic in the way that, people livelihood will still be movable. To the Liberian people, we want to say to you, we know that from 1847, we have been suffering. It is not today that we are suffering. But for all of us, some of us that are going through the suffering process, if you feel like what the organizer says, all we want is for Liberia to be peaceful. Please remain peaceful. If you want to go to your demonstration, remain peaceful. Please, no violence, no emotions, no intimidation. Don't incite. No incitement. Be peaceful. Don't use hate speeches on anybody. Be gentle. Be humble. Be decent in your speech. You can say the word to somebody and can say to them in that way. I want to say to the ruling party, that also we call on you to 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 frame your people in a way that they will also be peaceful. We don't want agitation. We don't want anybody to incite violence. We don't want anybody to incite tension. Let all of us on that day, those that will stay home, let them stay home. Those who think they want to go, fine. It's in your own right if you want to be there. The government have given permission, but all we call for is peace. The peace must be retained, will be sustained, and we should have that opportunity because of the peace to have a reconciled country. Thank you very much, and I wish all of us a Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year.
Thank you so much. So the voice of Reverend Christopher Wleh the first. He is the Secretary General of the Liberia Council of Churches in Liberia here. My name is Prince Moba. I've been here in conversation with him. Let me say thanks to all of you who followed. Let me say good morning if it is the morning hour in your area. Good afternoon if it is the afternoon hour, and good evening if it is in the evening hour. If this is how we're going to wound down this curtain on this live broadcast. It's been a pleasure being with him here at his office on 15th Street in Single Monrovia, Liberia. Let me say hats up to the team in the U.S., Dennis Jar, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Focus on Liberia, Anthony C, who is the Operation Manager there in the U.S., and my colleague Theo Williams here in Liberia. Once again, I'm Prince Mora, bidding you bye-bye. Thanks for watching.